What made it possible for Brooke to reach out to a conventional GMO farmer in Colorado and have a curiosity conversation? How was he able to hold space for that farmer in a way that allowed him to completely open up and share his story? In many ways, I would describe this lady as the opposite to the GMO farmer. She's an absolute animal lover with an organic fertilizer company, regenerating life in the soil, a firm advocate for healthy, nutritious food, and very much against any chemical and non-natural ways of food production. Setting up a meeting like this, where I believe it's fair to say that opponents meet, would very often, very fast, turn into a battle of arguments, right? But what was planned to be a 1 hour curiosity conversation turned into 3 hours of storytelling, packed with information, and an invitation for Brooke to come and visit in the springtime, so the farmer could better show her the operation of a modern farm. But the best part of it was that Brooke came back very excited, telling us all how much she had learned. Things about irrigation, the food system, and the conditions for farming in general. Things she had no clue about before. You see, Brooke was a participant in our program, Leading with Love Training, Healing the Food System, a program that Adam Fishman and I held in Farmer's Footprint during most of 2022 and 23. The fundamental philosophy in this program is that we need to come from a place of love rather than fear if we want to truly connect with other people and build those relationships that allow for information to flow and again give us and that again gives us the opportunity to come up with new and better ideas for faster action to be taken with more sustainable results. We call this gratitude-based learning, and it is a mindset shift for how we see each other and the world. I believe it to be a crucial element if we are to find sustainable way forward, but let me get back to that in a bit. First, let's tune into the state of the planet. I believe it's fair to say that we live in a very polarized world. It's probably one of the inheritance from the capitalistic and Western industrial mindset of competition that has somehow led us to the perception that I am right and you are wrong, that the world is bad and the systems are broken, and if we don't fix this, the world is going to end. Today we have information available like never before, but we also have the option of selecting who we want to listen to. We follow our favorite YouTuber or guru on some social media and spend very little time actually listening to and trying to understand and learn from people with a completely different frame of reasoning. So depending on our source of information, we can get auto-confirmed very quickly that I'm right and you're wrong. This happened both for climate change fanatics as well as flat earthers or climate change deniers. In many ways, I do agree that the state of the planet shows a degeneration in almost any aspect, from human morals, values, and ethics, to the monetary system, from food and health issues to societies and institutions themselves. If I should find one thing that I believe almost everybody could agree to, from conservatives to liberals, from environmentalists to poor people in India, then I think they would all say that the system is broken. It's hard to find some hope for the future. This naturally leads to a lot of fear for this unknown future. I believe we are at a point in evolution on this planet very similar to when a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly. We have enclosed ourselves in our own little world of a cocoon. And now we are in this process of death, mixed with the potential for a new life. I bet it's kind of scary for those cells in the caterpillar that are facing the transformation of death, don't you think? Similar, we can observe a lot of fear in our world today, and it affects our way of thinking, our beliefs about ourselves and the world we live in. It affects how we connect and how we communicate with each other and the action we take based on the information we have available. It causes us to operate within a very limiting and negative frame. The kind of story we tell ourselves and each other is very determined for what kind of action we take. Are we here to save the planet? Are we here to heal the planet? Or are we here to create even more wondrous, vibrant, thriving life? Please think for a moment. What energy, frequency, and vibration are you carrying with you and spreading to the world if the story you tell yourself is that you are here to save the planet, versus if the story you are here to tell is about abundance, hope, faith, and a vision yet to be fully perceived? Making that shift in perception of the world, in what story we tell, in our very mindset, in how we think, talk, and act, is nothing less than monumental. Coming from a place of love instead of fear is not a small change. Adopting a habit of gratitude and curiosity and collaboration is not that easy. When most of us have been taught and conditioned for a lifetime to be suspicious, fearful, and that we can trust no one, not even ourselves maybe. Change is coming because change is needed on so many levels. The question is if we will try to change in a state of fear and frustration, or if we embrace the change in gratitude and love. Most of us are very reluctant to change. Let's say we need to make a lifestyle change. What most likely will happen is that the subconscious will resist as best it can, because it wants to stay the same and repeat the same patterns of behavior. This means that the fear of staying the same needs to be bigger than the fear of change. And I believe that's why so many people unwillingly wait until they are broke, divorced, and having a severe health condition, maybe all at the same time, before we take on that change. But is so much pain and suffering really needed? Whether it is on an individual or collective and global level? I believe that no. I believe that transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly can happen in a state of joy, love, curiosity, and gratitude. In fact, I believe those are the essential ingredients for the same genes to be able to express a completely different outcome. As I'm sure you know, the caterpillar and the butterfly have the same genes. So how is that possible? More than just a hormonal change within the caterpillar, I believe those cells in the caterpillar somehow were able to change their perception about themselves and their collective future. I believe they started telling themselves a new story of what they could become together. If we are to make that change happen as humanity, in a state of love rather than fear, I believe to have identified a key ingredient required, and it is for us to be able to hold space for people to be vulnerable. In our program, I have witnessed that shift over and over, so I know it's possible. Besides sharing information needed, we also provide opportunity to learn it by doing, trying it out in the real world. And I can tell you, it is very common for people to experience a lot of friction in the process. But together, in small groups, we create this trusted space where we can be vulnerable and share our experiences. Besides working with Adam, I also have a profession as a Psyche facilitator. And we call this space the Isumatak space, an Inuit word that best translates as the keeper of the sacred space where wisdom is revealed. For that individual and collective wisdom to be revealed, it requires a lot of trust and zero judgment. That wisdom I refer to is a shared wisdom. It is both internal for each individual, but at the same time collective, and you might say part of the oneness. And I believe that if we are to co-create a better future for humanity and the planet, beyond what you could possibly think of today, we need to tap into that collective wisdom, one human connection at a time. That is why we also need to reach out to those we disagree with. We cannot only stay within the same loops of information that we're used to. If Brooke was able to reach out and create a connection with the GMO farmer, she must have been able to hold back her own agenda and found some authentic gratitude and curiosity that allowed for that farmer to open up. And once the connection is made and trust is built, then anything is possible. Take a moment to consider what Brooke really was up against. The farmer first rejected her and had no interest in talking to her at all. Why do you think that was? My best bet is that he probably has had his share of environmentalists telling him how wrong he is, how bad his way of farming is, how often without having a clue about what they're talking about, and without a single attempt to try to just understand his situation. I'm sure you can understand the level of space needed to open up that situation. So now I'll invite you to imagine for a while what the world would be like if more people like Brooke were able to reach out to their opponent and hold that space. For that single purpose that I want to learn from you only. Not even holding that space for someone to change because I think you are broken and need fixing. That to me is love. Brooke had a chance to learn and grow, and she took it. And because trust was built between the farmer and her, what action do you think they could now take together? In our gratitude-based learning program, it is our thesis that we can actually get to take much better and faster action with much more sustainable results if we expand the pool of information by including the voices of all the stakeholders, big and small. True change happens when we are all behind the change as a collective, not just something forced upon the other half that will only last until the next government takes office. So please dream with me for a moment. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could all learn to hold that space for each other? Think for a moment how that would play out on a global level. And now think for a moment how that would look like in your neighborhood, at work, or in your family. And finally, please consider what is needed for you to make the change. How would you start to lead with love? I welcome you to share any thoughts and ideas, comments and questions. Just one last thing. If you, in the process of learning how to lead with love, should encounter setback, resistance, friction, limiting beliefs, please reach out for help. We are here to help each other, so no need to struggle alone. Let this process be one of joy.